guilty pleasure or simply a way of life. Nearly 3/4 of the French public eat chocolate once a week, and the average of 7 kilos is consumed per year. But the simple indulgence also has a dark side. Cacao farming has resulted in massive deforestation. Reports of child labor and farmers who are often unfairly paid have tarnished the industry. Despite all this, chocolate has been considered a delicacy in France for centuries. Hello and welcome to France in Focus. I'm Delano D'Souza. On the show this week, we're focusing on a new trend that's emerging in the world of chocolate, ethical chocolate. For the past few years, certain industry professionals have been trying to put in place best practices which are greener and more ethical. That's the case at Les Copains de Bastien, or Friends of Bastien in English, and we're off to meet them now. Marc Chanchol, you are a chocolatier at Les Copains de Bastien. Thank you for having us. Can you tell us how the idea for an ethical product came about?
Everything is in the name Friends of Bastien. To start, Stéphane has a son named Bastien, and while walking in the street one day, they came across a homeless person, and his son was very sensitive to that fact. He asked his father, "Why is this man on the street?" Stéphane was very touched by his son's remarks and said to him, "We can help this man." And in fact, he created this chocolate shop to hire these people, to help them have an active life and get off the streets.
Tell us, what is ethical chocolate?
We are very sensitive to the quality and the production of the beans. We work to pay the producers fairly to make sure we don't contribute to deforestation. So for that, we work with the sources and directly with the producers sometimes to assure that the process is done well and that the producers are able to get by financially and personally.
How is it possible to ensure that what you're sourcing from wherever you're sourcing it from is actually ethical without being on site?
I travel to the country of production, so I can meet the producers. And then we have transparency all year round from our sourcer. She meets the producers, sees their work, then she brings some of their beans here so I can test them. I know the quality is respected because I know she's been there.
And you're associated with Bean to Bar. What exactly is that?
Bean to Bar is a movement out of the United States. It's the ability to produce your own chocolate. We buy the chocolate beans thanks to our sources, and then we do the work of cooking them, grinding them, roasting them. This process takes around 48 hours, and after we make our chocolate.
And because you make chocolate, when you see a cacao bean, can you tell whether it's ethically made or unethically made?
I need to know if they are well made. There is a lot of foundational work, the fermentation, the drying, that we don't do here. So with the beans on their side, there is a process undertaken, and if it is well done, normally, I'm able to see it here.
Now you're going to make some chocolate for us?
Let's go.
Let's go.
All right, we're going to take our beans to start to chop them up. We grab a handful, usually around 30 is the best ratio, and then we cut them like this. And when we cut them open, we can see the color of the bean inside. And this color tells me if it's properly fermented. Here we have a light brown, an almost pale brown. That's quite good. Before they go to roast, I just pour my beans on a cooking sheet, like this. I spread them out well. This is perfect. And they go into the oven. Here we go. Now I put them here to roast. Depending on the beans, all beans roast differently. These ones I know well. They will cook at 110 degrees for around 20 minutes. Let's go. Set the timer. Let's go. Now the beans are cooled off, I will collect them. Now we move to a table for crushing. We need to smash up the beans, like this, into pieces. We're going to put them through a machine, and when they are crushed into 1,000 pieces, the shells will be sucked up by a vacuum, and the cacao nibs, which are heavier, will fall through. Voila, so now they're being crushed, and this is the raw material for making chocolate. This is what we will grind up in the machine. So this machine, there are two granite wheels that turn, and there is a granite slab. So the way that the machine turns, it creates friction between the stones, and this friction will give off heat and will allow the cacao butter inside the cocoa nibs to melt and become a more liquid texture. And this is what we will work with to make the molds for Easter, our chocolate bars, the little pralines, a little of everything. It's the step just before the packaging and the selling. We're going to package a few chocolate eggs quickly because I have a customer waiting for me.
Les deux premiers. Là. Attends, Rosa, je t'en donne deux. C'est moi qui te remercie, j'arrive avec les deux.
Now, certain French chocolatiers have formed an association that's determined to do better. The objective is to ensure fair conditions for producers and transparency for consumers. Their ultimate goal, they say, is to shake up the way things have been done in the industry. Daniel Mercier, you are president of Engaged Chocolatiers. Thank you for speaking to us. What exactly is this club?
Our organization was initially created by 8 people who are part of the Chocolatiers and Confectioners Confederation of France and who came up with the idea of creating a short circuit to identify cocoa growers, involve them in our processes, tell them we need cocoa, especially high-quality cocoa, that is fermented, that undergoes post-harvest treatment and drying, in a bid to obtain the organoleptic qualities we're looking for. The aim is to create a short circuit with a total traceability of the cocoa from start to finish.
Why is it important that more chocolatiers adopt these practices?
We keep hearing that there will be a lack of cocoa because people are turning away from this production. The average age of cocoa farmers worldwide is 65 years old. The average size of plots is less than 1 hectare. Basically, we produce 5 million tons of cocoa in the world, and there are 5 million growers. It's totally fragmented. So we really need to focus on farmers, to give them the means to develop and densify their plantations. That was the aim of the approach originally.
And do you feel it's easy to attract new members here in France?
From the moment we launched the idea, a large number of chocolatiers said, "Wow, it's extraordinary. It would be great if we could identify where the cocoa comes from." And very quickly, pastry chefs, bakers, caterers, ice cream makers and restaurateurs told us that they would like to work with us because that approach simply didn't exist. There are plenty of labels, but none are able to guarantee us total traceability. The priority for committed chocolatiers is the price paid to the farmers.
Are chocolatiers in France really asking themselves if what they're doing is ethical? Because it's easy to forget what's going on in Africa, where you're sourcing from, sitting here in Paris.
We need to explain this approach. The key is to educate. Did you know that 99% of farmers have never tasted a gram of chocolate? Nobody has tasted chocolate. They don't know what it's for. And at the same time, many chocolate users in France, Europe, and around the world have never visited cocoa farms. So it was about bringing people together and allowing them to understand each other's issues.
Nowadays, people are paying more attention to how much they spend on food, unlike in the past. How do you ensure that your chocolate is not out of reach, chocolate that's ethical?
Creating a short circuit means that cocoa ultimately doesn't cost much more than what we paid before. And we are very sensitive to prices, especially to inflation. So we are very careful with our selling prices. The difference between craftsmanship and industry is that we have a significant impact of the cost of labor, which mitigates the rise in raw material costs.
And are more French chocolatiers engaged, if you will, versus other countries in the world?
This approach is French, since it comes from the Chocolatiers and Confectioners Confederation of France. Many chocolatiers from different countries have expressed their interest in our approach. If we were to make a wish, it would be that indeed fairly compensating farmers, knowing the origins, the cocoa plantations, meeting farmers, encouraging them to produce quality cocoa becomes a global norm. We need to focus precisely on these people, That's what the committed chocolatiers are working on.
On agit là-dessus également avec Chocolatiers Engagés.
Daniel Mercier, thank you very much for speaking to us here on France 24. And that's it for this edition of France in Focus. From all of us on the team, thank you very much for watching.